This video will show you how to replace the front door latch assembly with inboard cable on a GMC Sierra 2500. This will be mounted inside of your front door. Let's get into it. To remove the door panel, let's start in this upper corner. I'm going to be using a plastic trim tool so I don't scratch the paint on the vehicle. We're just making our way in between this area. We're gently prying, starting from the top, and it should want to pull away. Now as we move towards our grab handle, we're going to have to remove the outer trim panel. You can see a clear difference here. Go ahead and separate it. I'm just going to use a flat blade screwdriver so I can make my way in between and gently start pulling it away. You don't want to damage it because we are reusing it. There we are. With that out of the way, you're going to find that you have two 10mm headed mounting bolts. There's our first mounting bolt. And the second mounting bolt. We'll take hold of the grab handle. It's going to pull away from the door. Quick inspection, set it aside. Now as you look along this area, we can see where our window and door lock switches are. We're going to carefully lift up on this panel next. Plastic trim tool, gently pry. Looking along the bottom of this, we can see several electrical connectors. Let's start disconnecting these. With that dislodged, we can continue on to removing all four of our electrical connectors. Now we have a locking tab for each of these. For this one in particular, you can see that we do have a small locking tab deep in this area. You could either try to press on it by hand, or you could use a small pick or screwdriver, whatever is easiest for you. I'm going to be using a small pocket screwdriver for this. We'll push in our locking tab and slide that out of place. A quick inspection for corrosion, of course. If you see any, it needs to be taken care of. This looks good. Let's continue on to all others. Another locking tab. Now for this end one, you're going to find that you do have a small locking tab. It's on the inboard side. I'm using my small pocket screwdriver to lightly pry this away. I don't want to cause any damage to the connector. We just want to pull it away far enough we can dislodge the electrical connector. No corrosion there. Just a quick inspection of the switch panel and we'll set this aside. We're tucking the wires inside this port. What you're going to find is that you have an electrical connector with a wiring harness, and there's a mounting point that you can see the tip of right here. Go ahead and press that down inside the door panel. I'm going to press that in and I'll show you exactly what it looks like. Behind where the inside door handle is, you're going to find that you have a small plastic trap door. We're going to remove that. I'm just using a small angled pick. Make my way in between. We should be able to separate this. A thorough inspection of that. Behind that area, you're going to find a 10mm headed mounting bolt. Let's remove that. Now inside behind this grab handle, you're going to find that you have another plastic panel that has to be dislodged, and that's going to expose two 10mm mounting bolts. Now I'm just going to be using my small pocket screwdriver for this. I'll make my way in between an area that I can gently pry. There we are. When you go to remove these bolts, just keep in mind, once you loosen them, they may fall inside the door panel. We're removing the door panel anyway, but we don't want to lose the bolts. Just have a magnet handy. There's our first bolt. Bolt number 2. Let's move towards the door lock knob next. Have it in the unlocked position. Looking in this area, we can see that we do have a square tab. I'm using my pocket screwdriver. I'm gently prying the upper portion away. That's unlocking this, and now I should be able to lift up on this knob. There's our knob. It's not damaged in any way. This looks good. Go ahead and remove the plastic panel that goes around this area. There we are. Now we can start removing the door panel from the door itself. To do this, I'm going to be using a plastic trim tool. I want to make my way in between the plastic door panel and the door, and I don't want to scratch my paint. As you make your way in between, we're going to start prying away. You're going to find that there's several plastic push clips holding this in place. Continuing on, we should be able to lift up on the door panel. We'll start pulling it away so we can gain access along the back side. Now, as we pivot the door panel, I'm looking from along the bottom here. I can see where my cable goes into my inside handle, and then we have the cable end leading down into this area. We have to dislodge the outer casing first. If you are looking at the casing, it has a connector down in this area, 2 squeezable tabs. For this, you can use some pliers or another device that can slide over each one of those tabs to gently release this. We want to be careful not to break it. There we are. Now I can pivot this through the slot on the door handle itself and remove the other portion of the cable. A thorough inspection of the cable to confirm it's still in good usable order, and we can set this panel aside. Now, to be able to do this, you're going to want to have the window in the fully upright position. If you don't have it there previously, just go ahead and reattach the window switch itself with the 2 center ports here. After that, put the key in the on position, power the window to the fully upright position. Press that in. This one. All right, keys in the on position. And the window is up. Go ahead and turn off key power, and we're going to re-disconnect our switch. Now we can go ahead and remove our foam insulator here. Typically, this will be stuck in place with some sort of adhesive. You're going to have to carefully remove this. For that, I'm just pulling away along the top, and I'm tucking the wires in and behind. Now, continuing on, we can start pulling this down. As you can see, it is already separating here. I'm going to continue on with a plastic razor blade. Let's continue on, making my way to the far side here. So now we can make our way in here. I can see where my latch is. We can see that we do have several rods, but we also have an electrical connector. Let's start with the electrical connector first, which is up along the top. Now for this electrical connector, we have a small pocket screwdriver. Up along the top of the electrical connector, it actually has a locking tab that we need to gently pry up. We don't want to damage it. There we are, we have that disconnected. A quick inspection for corrosion, of course. There's that locking tab that I pried up gently. It's not damaged in any way. Let's go ahead and set that aside for now. Now, after that electrical connector, we're going to remove one of our rods from the latch assembly. We can see that we do have a yellow connector for this rod holding it in place. I'm going to use an angled pick to help break this free. A quick inspection of that rod to confirm it's not rotted or damaged in any way. Now with that rod disconnected, let's make our way straight up into this area where we can see our next rod. This rod goes all the way up to the door lock cylinder. As you look at the door lock cylinder, you're going to find that it has a red locking connector. We're going to just dislodge this rod by pressing it out towards where the door latch would be. You could reach inside by hand, or you can use a long curved pick, and we're just going to carefully press this out of position. Now we do still have one more rod left to remove. This one goes all the way up to the inside door lock knob. We'll remove this once we get this out of the door. So with that said, let's pay attention up where that door lock knob would be. You're going to find that you have a rubber grommet. This should easily pull out of place. Looking along here, we have 3 T30 torque screws to remove. Now that we have that out of the door, we can start removing our final 2 rods from the latch assembly itself. Just pay attention to the orientation, so during the installation, everything goes back together perfectly. The shorter of the 2 rods is going to go on this area here. For this rod, we're just taking it, we're pivoting it, and sliding it out of its mounting point. Now let's continue on to the next. This rod will come from this area here, slides through to the other. Same thing, just going to rotate it right out of position. At this point on the bench, we're going to prepare the brand new latch assembly for installation. Of course, we're going to attach our 2 rods first before bringing this into the door itself. We're going to start with the inner door lock rod. This is the longer of the rods. We're going right along this area where we can see our inside door handle cable. We're going into this port here. Start bringing it straight down and through there. We're pivoting it as necessary. This is what we're looking for. Let's turn this over. Now we have our next rod. This is the shorter of the 2. This is going to go into this port here, right next to where our yellow connector is. Both of these rods are facing up. Now, while we still have this on the bench, just go ahead and make sure this is in the open position. It's going to be a little bit easier to do while it's on the bench rather than in the vehicle. To unlock this, we're going to make our way inside this area here. I'm using my flat blade screwdriver. It has a small locking tab. Make your way under that locking tab, gently pry to separate this. Now, with that in the unlocked position, let's get ready to install the brand new latch assembly. Now, as I bring this into position, I'm bringing my inside door lock rod up inside this area. We want to pay attention to this. Now let's bring the latch over to the door. We'll align it and start in all 3 pieces of mounting hardware. Make sure it's perfectly aligned here. We'll continue on inside the door. Now let's carefully reach inside the door and start connecting our rods. We'll connect the small rod that leads up to our door lock cylinder first. For that, you just want to line it up and press it in. Listen for a click and make sure it's secured in place. I do have that pressed in. I'm going to attempt to pull it back out of position now. It should not slide out. If it does, you're going to want to replace the red locking tab, or you can use a wire tie of some sort if necessary. That feels good. Now it's time for the long rod that leads down to our yellow locking connector. We're going to rest this rod in position in the connector. Press it towards the connector, and of course, lock it in. Now it's time to resecure our electrical connector onto the latch assembly. When you go to do this, we want to make sure we have the wiring harness along the inboard side of our window regulator, closest to us. You don't want it along the outboard side, closest to the outer panel of the door. It's going to get caught as the window goes up and down. Let's get this aligned here. I'm pressing that electrical connector in as far as possible, and then I'm going to press down on the lock. Listen for an audible click from that, give it a little tug to make sure it's secured in place. Now, before we make our way outside of the door, let's just have a quick look at the latch itself, confirming that we've attached our wiring harness and, of course, all of our rods as they need to be. Of course, we do also still have our cable that leads to the inside door handle, so let's focus on that next. When you look at this, you can see that I have the cable going along the opposite side of the window regulator. Now this is going to get caught on the window as it makes its way up and down, so we need to make sure it makes its way along this area of the window regulator and out through this port. Just gently flex it as necessary. There we are. Up where our inside door lock rod is, we want to make sure we reinstall our rubber gasket here. We'll make sure the rod is sliding through the slot on that gasket, and then we're going to press it into position. Now it's time for our foam insulator. As far as the foam insulator, we want to make sure that we start with our cable that leads to our outside latch. That's going to go through this lower port here. Slides right in there. Now, of course, I do also have my wiring harnesses. Those are going to go through this larger port just above that. We can see everything where it needs to be here. Continuing on, you want to make sure you reapply the insulator to the door. Now let's take hold of our inside door handle cable, and we're going to install it onto the inside door handle. As you remember during the removal process, the very end of the cable slides into this area, so I'm going to start with that. Now I can stretch the outer cable casing, and I'm going to bring it through this slot and then into the circular port, locking it in. There we are. Just double check to make sure that's secured in place. Now that we have the inside door handle cable in place, let's continue on with the rest of the door panel. We have to bring it up nice and high so the door panel fits along this channel across the top of the inside window sweep. We also want to make sure the door lock rod makes its way through the proper port as well. Just a couple of light taps across the top here. Carefully reach inside behind the door panel. We have our wiring harnesses. We want those in an area that we can gain access. After pressing it down along the top, have a quick look along the side, in between the door panel and the door itself. As you remember during the removal process, there was several push tabs holding this in place. We need to make sure they're properly aligned, and then you can tap the door panel in towards the door. We're making our way all the way around. Now behind the inside door handle, let's install our mounting bolts. Get that started in there. After that, we'll continue on with our plastic protective cover. This has to go in the proper direction. You're going to find one side has a locating tab. That's going to go on this side here, over towards where the handle mounts to the door. We'll make our way up towards where the door lock is next. We have the door lock rod. You can see it sticking up through this area. Now we do have our plastic panel. That's going to slide down inside here. Press it in. We'll listen for an audible click. Now let's continue on with the door lock knob. As far as that door lock knob, we want to make sure it's in the unlocked position. You can take hold of the plastic lock and remove it. Now let's start pressing this down onto the door lock rod. We want to press it down as far as we can so we can still gain access to the area for the lock. Now we have our little lock tab here. We're lining this up and we're going to press it in as far as possible. Go ahead and test the functionality of that, and we'll leave it in the unlocked position while we continue on. Now underneath the inside grab handle here, we're going to go ahead and install each of our two mounting bolts. After you have both of those in place, install your plastic protective panel. To install each of these, I have it started on a magnet here so I don't drop it inside of the door panel. Okay, I have that one started in, but left loose. Let's continue on to the next. They're both started in. Let's go ahead and tighten them up and install our plastic panel. When installing the plastic panel, let's make sure we have it in the proper orientation. We have two locking tabs along the side and locating tabs along the bottom. Press it in, double check to make sure it's seated all the way across. Now when we go to reinstall the harnesses in this area, of course we do have one mounting point. Now this has a small tab that protrudes up and out of this panel here, so I'm coming from under, and then I'm going to press it up. We can see the tab there. We'll just double check to make sure that's secured. I'm going to tuck that wiring down inside. Now let's reattach our switch panel in this area. You don't have to worry about mixing up the connectors. They only fit in one area. Just line them up, press them in, and listen for a click. Now we can take this, we're going to line it up and press it down and in position. Let's continue on with the grab handle. We'll get this aligned. We have our two 10mm headed bolts, one for each port, one up top, one down in the bottom area here. Let's install our trim panel across this area. Make sure that's secured all the way across. Up along the top, let's get this corner piece installed. We'll line it up, press it in. Okay friend, we finished our installation. Now the next thing we always like to do before we shut the door is test the functionality. For this, I'm using a 1/4" extension inside of my door latch area. The extension is going to act as the striker on the body of the vehicle. If we shut the door, the latch should be in the shut position. Now I'm pressing in this direction. It will not release. Let's go ahead and pull on that inside door handle and confirm it works. As you can tell, it did release. Let's do it one more time. I'm applying pressure. Pull the handle and it releases as it should. Perfect. Thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.